Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Redeem Her Time podcast. I am here with one of my besties, Lindsay Fletcher. I love when you just meet somebody. In fact, Lindsay and I were introduced by someone else, and it was one of those things that we got on a call together and we instantly connected and are like, oh my goodness, we're both passionate about the Lord. We're both passionate about business. We're both passionate about helping people grow. And so, of course, I wanted to have you on the podcast today. Today, we're going to be talking about how sales is everything for you as a business owner.
Yes.
And so we really want to look at how are you investing time, not just spending time in sales, and what kind of ROTI, return on time invested, is it producing? Because if it's not producing, we're wasting time and you're probably going to get really frustrated. So Lindsay, let's start just by hearing a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're juggling just in life in this season.
Oh gosh, in life in this season. Well, I am a wife of almost 20 years. We'll be married 20 years in May. And we have four beautiful children who run me ragged. We've got everybody's in football and everybody's in soccer and everybody's here, there, and everywhere. And I've dubbed this season as my taxi mom season.
Exactly.
So I am in the midst of the taxi mom era. And so we're also local service-based small business owners. And then I have my sales coaching business. So we're juggling a lot over here.
Yeah, which is what I find is pretty typical with women like us. We've got we have roles in our home, we have roles in our community, we have roles in our business, in our church, and things like that. And so it gets to be this really fun juggling act sometimes.
Yes.
But a beautiful one when we're not doing it by ourselves, right? So I want to go into your sales coaching and really that part of the work that you do.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about how God has called you to uniquely help women grow through sales and selling. And then I would love to hear a little bit of the journey, right? Like, how did he bring you to this place? Why sales? I mean, let's be honest. It's something that so many of us, especially as women, especially as believers, I don't want to be salesy. We resist it. And so I love when I find somebody who's got a passion for it. And I always kind of get curious about where did that come from? How did God develop that in you?
Yeah. So I actually started out my post-college, post-grad school career as an audiologist. So I worked in the cochlear implant space for almost 10 years. And then, during those 10 years, healthcare was shifting and changing and insurance was dictating more. And I really struggled with that. But I also struggled because I wanted to know what was going on behind the scenes in the business. I wanted to know all the business things in addition to the clinical things. So I really struggled towards the end of my clinical career. And one of our cochlear implant reps came to me and said, "Hey, I'm changing positions within this company. Do you think this might be something you would be interested in?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." So I interviewed through that, changed directions. I was still in the cochlear implant hearing technology space, but instead of serving patients, I went into the hearing technology sales space. And so I was responsible for selling to surgeons and to other, my fellow audiologists. I wasn't necessarily selling to the patient anymore.
Okay.
I wasn't taking care of directly of the patient, but I was selling to their providers. So persuading and leading them to a decision to use our device over one of our competitors, right? And so I loved it. It was everything that lit me up. I still got to use my audiology background. I still got to use all of the training and education that I had gained, and experience over the years. But I really loved the sales part of it. And I think that was the piece that was missing for me back in the clinic when I would have those patients that I just couldn't quite connect with, and I couldn't quite get them to do what I wanted them to do or what I knew was best for them. I didn't know how to communicate that with them. And so what I learned is sales is nothing more than serving in a way that delivers a message in the way that the person receiving the message or your patient, your potential client needs that information to be delivered. So it's service, it's communication, and it's just filling in the gaps and leading someone to a decision. Now that decision doesn't always mean they're going to buy from you, right? But qualifying people out and identifying who your best fit customer is, who those ideal people out there are, so that you can not only market to them, but you can get them in your coaching program, in your business. You can help them in a way that you can. They may just not be getting it yet. And that's what sales is it's filling those gaps.
Yeah, I love that. It's communicating, it's filling the gap, it's serving. And here's one of the things that I always say. I think I might have heard this somewhere, so sorry if I'm not giving credit where credit is due, but I will just say that it probably came from something I heard that, I put together. Like, you can't truly serve someone until your business name is on their credit card statement.
Yes.
Yes, you can put out valuable content for free, online and things like that, or like if at a networking event or things like that. But when it really comes to like actually helping someone get a transformation, or, have this experience or whatever it is, whether you offer a product, a program, or a service, there's going to have to be this value exchange, right? Where they're giving you money, right? Compensation for this product, program, or service.
Yeah. People don't pay attention until they pay you.
Oh, I like that. Okay. People don't pay attention until they pay you. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, how many webinars, how many free things have you signed up for, right? How many email lists and maybe coupon thing, like how many places have you put your email because they were going to give you something free and you never actually opened the email?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's the same. It's that exact concept.
Yeah. I call it the graveyard, right? The inbox graveyard, where all those things go to die, that you had great intentions. Oh, I'll get back to watching this or whatever. And it doesn't. So, okay. So let's just say it. Everybody wants to grow their business. They want the revenue that comes with selling, but not everybody wants to sell. So let's dive into this a little bit. My audience is Christian women business owners. So why is sales such a struggle for, I'm sure guys struggle with it too, but we're talking to the ladies today. Yeah. What are some of the reasons that you think maybe this is something that, either doesn't feel good? I think we often think of like, I don't want to be that slimy, salesy person is kind of what I hear out of people's mouths. And so like we almost automatically associate selling with this like slimy used car. Let me just, slick back my hair and get you in something. So why is this such a struggle?
I think for Christian women, we've been taught that money is the bad thing. We've been taught, and I think, for myself at least, I grew up in an era with because I said so, right? Like that authoritative, because I said so. And so I learned at a young age, not because anybody like intentionally pushed it on me, but I just learned at a young age as a girl and as a woman, I'm not allowed to ask questions, and I'm not allowed to ask for what I want. And I'm not allowed to say, hey, this is what I need, or I'm not allowed to be pushy or bossy or direct in any way. And I think especially for Christian women, somewhere along the lines, we've been told, maybe indirectly, not maybe through someone's voice, but we've been told indirectly that we have to be soft and we have to help people and we have to there's this very, I don't know the words to use at this moment, but it's this, if we charge something, if we make a profit, if we add value and we want, if we're making money, then somehow we're not helping people, or, we're taking from them instead of this two-way street of they've paid me and now I'm going to deliver this thing that they've asked me to do.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because every single one of us who struggles with some of these things you just talked about, we walk into stores, whether they're online or in person, every single day, and we don't balk at the fact that there's a price tag.
No.
And we hand over the cash or the card because we understand this is how I get to take this home. This is how I get to consume this or use this or whatever. And so, it's so interesting how this has kind of changed things in our mind when we're the ones now that are charging for something. Okay, we are not short on advice on the internet for how to sell. Okay, so I want to say when Lindsay looks at what's out there, whether it's in an Instagram post or whether it's in a LinkedIn article or wherever you're seeing this, like what are some of the lies or like the bad advice that you think that we're being given around sales and selling and that process? That we're believing or thinking that this is just what I have to do because this is what the gurus are telling me.
There's a million. Right. The first would be we have to hustle harder. We just have to be in all the places. We have to do all the things. We have to show up online everywhere that there's an opportunity to show up online, right? That we just have to hustle harder and our businesses will grow. Well, the truth of the matter is if you're marketing your business, but you don't know how to close a sale, you're basically lighting money on fire.
Oh, yeah. So marketing your business is not the same as selling. That's interesting because I think a lot of people would put them in the same bucket. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people put marketing and selling in the same bucket, and they're simply not.
What is the difference?
Very different processes.
Yeah. How would you differentiate between the two?
Yeah. So marketing in my mind, now you have to understand that I'm a sales coach, and I love sales, and sales is the thing, right? That I do. So marketing in my mind is the awareness. So I like to use the analogy of an invitation to a party. Okay. I've sent you the invitation to the party. Now you know the party exists, right? That's your social media posts. Okay. That's your networking. Networking is also sales, by the way, but that's a whole nother conversation for probably another day. But I've sent you the invitation via email or snail mail, and you've received the invitation, and now you know there's a party. Okay. But selling is getting you to come to the party. Okay. Right? Okay. Selling is getting you to dance at the party and have a Coke at the party and talk to your friends at the party, right? Marketing is awareness that you exist and building interest to coming to the party or to contacting you. But once they've engaged with you in any way, whether that's liking a social media post. Now, I'm not talking about your mom and your sister, right? Like they're not your ideal client, right?
Probably not.
Right. But once they've engaged with you in some way, they've sent you a DM, they've emailed you, they've responded to something that you've put out there in the internet, right? Once they have engaged with you, they are now in your sales funnel, right? They've moved from marketing, they've moved from awareness and interest to now it's time to figure out why they contacted you, what they're looking to get from you, and can you deliver on those things?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I always say that you need to make sure that they need, want, can afford, and are ready. And that it does take a process, because if they don't even need what you have, then why are we having a conversation? They're just going to like it and go on. But there has to then be the level of desire, right, for whatever this is. And then obviously the ability and the readiness in order to do that. So not everybody who gets an invitation is probably, like you said, going to be the best person to come to the party. So yeah. So interesting. Okay. So I'm curious, because I'm a time girl. I always say everything comes back to time. So I believe selling actually comes back to time.
Absolutely.
So when you are watching business owners right now, especially in the online space, I know you do a lot of things in person, so maybe a little bit different for in person. Sure. I'd be curious, but like, where do you see most business owners? And most of my people are solopreneurs. They might have a VA or like somebody who just does some like tasks, but they don't have a team that's doing like the marketing or the sales and things like that. Where do you see them spending the majority of their time? Is it in the marketing piece of things? Is it in the sales piece? Or maybe what's the proportion that you see, if that makes sense, as to where people are putting most of their time and focus?
Yeah, I see people putting a lot of effort into marketing, but then once they actually get someone to call their business or to email them or to click the link, then they don't know what to do with them, right? And that's where the sales begins, right? Yeah. Whether that's you've sent out an email blast to your people, your email list, and you've invited them into your next offer or to your coaching program or whatever that looks like. Once they get to the link, once they've clicked the link in the email, then sales starts. And you're then qualifying them. They're qualifying themselves if you're not having a conversation. So you need to make sure that your sales copy on your website, on that landing page, is qualifying them that, yes, this is the right thing for me, or no, it's not, right? Like they need to be qualifying themselves. You need to be answering the questions. You need to be saying the questions they're asking and answering them on there, right? And so it in person versus online, it's the same sales process. It's just a faster moving machine, usually when it's online, once you get the machine going.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we can compress time in some ways. And I could see how being in the room could also compress time as well, because you really get to know someone without the back and forthness that sometimes goes on. Okay. So before we move on to how do we fix the problem? Let's talk about the cost, right? What does it actually cost us in our time in our revenue, even in our reach and our impact when we avoid or we misunderstand sales. When we're just either, so focused on the marketing piece and, don't do the sales piece, or we're just like, I don't like that part. They'll let me know if they're ready.
Yeah. I mean, it costs a lot when people don't know how to sell. Not only in your time, I mean, I agree with you, Lissa, everything comes back to time, right? Like time, that saying time is money, like, yes, and amen. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes back to the time you're spending, you're marketing and marketing and marketing and marketing, but you're not getting paid until they pay. Right.
Yes. Marketing is like working for free.
Right. Marketing's working for free, or you're paying to work.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. If you're running ads or you're in networking groups or you're, whatever that looks like in your marketing world, radio ads, whatever, podcast ads, whatever, you're paying to work. And if you're not selling to them to get them to buy, you're losing money.
Yeah,
you're
losing
losing
not
time.
going to be in business very long.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You'll be, I mean, the reality is when people don't know how to sell, they don't know how to close that loop between the person's aware and interested into a converted closed sale and then continued buy-in. So they either are really super happy and they tell all their friends, or they come back and buy your next thing. Right.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to close the loop on that, the reality is you get burned out and you're not making enough money to pay your bills. And then you're back in corporate America where you started.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because that's what I'm thinking. You have an expensive hobby if you're not doing these things.
Yeah.
And I love how you brought up, it doesn't even sales doesn't actually end when somebody becomes your client or your customer. And I have that philosophy every time I show up to a meeting, whether it's a weekly accountability meeting or one-on-one, I am selling that person again on why this was a good investment. Yes. I'm selling them on why this is the solution, why this is the support they need, why, and keeping them, like you said, coming back so that not only they get better results, but then they also are great referral partners and they want what other things are coming out. So I love that. And I always say the people who've already paid you are the easiest people to sell to.
Yes.
Right? I think we spend so much of our time trying to catch the cold people out here and bring them in and warm them up when we've got people who already know, like, and trust us and have gotten results and have already put a credit card out there or cash out there or something that,
and they're the people that what their problems are for the next stage, right? Yes. Like they're the ones that you already know and you're already in conversation with. So if you're not sure what the next step is for them, ask them. They'll tell you.
Yeah. And those don't feel like that like pressured conversation, right? Because you feel like this is someone I already know, so I can bring that in. So I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start talking about how we should be doing this, what kind of time we should be giving to this. And, it's not just the quantity of time, it's the quality of time. What are we doing with this? Yes. Because my listeners, we want to be faithful with our time, but we also want to be fruitful with our time, right? And we don't want to be working all the time. So, okay. So sales really is at the center of everything. Right? Really, if we're in business, we have to be good at sales. What does it look like to approach selling in a way that honors God and serves people? I mean, I'm hearing right there the two greatest commandments: love God and love others. Boom, right?
Right. And I think as Christian entrepreneurs, we need to get really clear that if we were called into business, we were called to make a profit.
Yeah. I love that Proverbs 31, it talks about her being profitable.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And she has multiple businesses.
They miss the business part and they focus on she's up before morning and she's out working and she's doing the things and she's taking care of all the people.
And she's also making a profit.
She's making
and she's reinvesting it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
To continue to grow her money. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I would say as far as time commitment or learning to sell is actually a very simple process. It's not this complicated having to chuck your personality or your whole self out the window. You learn to sell as you are as a human being. You learn the process of selling, and then it's literally repeatable in everything you do. So the one-time investment of learning to sell is maybe a little bit time intensive, right? Sure. But as you learn to sell, you'll start looking at your whole business through the lens of sales. And once you start doing that, you get better and better and better at it. You're having more conversations, you're tailoring your messaging, you're figuring out what it is you need to say. And this is, I like to kind of compare sales to sports. You have to practice sales. Like the football players don't show up on the field on Friday night to play high school football without practicing. Right? They spend hours and hours learning plays and perfecting and running it over and over and over. And that's the same thing with sales. You have to practice it. It's not something that you just learn one time and then you're like, oh, now I'm a master. That's not actually the case. So there's a process that I teach that you prepare for the conversation ahead of time. You know what to expect and you know how to lead that conversation. A lot of people, that's a big mistake a lot of people make, is they leave the conversation to chance, right? They show up to the call or they show up to the meeting and they have no guideline for what they're going to say or what they need to talk about in that time that they're spending together. So you prepare for it, you practice like the football players or the dancers going to competitions, right? We're in football 24/7 in my house. So it's always football in my mind, but I'm a former college dancer. I was on my college dance team. I wouldn't go on the field or on the basketball court to perform without practicing. Right. That would have been embarrassing. Right. And so there's time involved up front, but once you get good at it and once you start recognizing the patterns in conversations and you start recognizing that you're having the same conversation over and over and over, you start knowing what questions to ask, you start knowing how to answer them on the fly, and you just get better and better and better at it. And then eventually you start looking at your whole business through the lens of sales and going, is this going to make me money? Is this activity going to result in a sale? And that's what we need to do as business owners, because if we're doing things that aren't going to result in a sale, are we stewarding our time well? Are we stewarding our talents well?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, anybody, let's think about, I think the easy thing is like money, right? If you have $1,000 and you are investing it in some kind of a, whatever it is, there's so many things to invest in these days, you're paying attention to the ROI, right? Yes. You're looking at, is this actually producing a return or is this costing me? Now we all know that with the market, you can't just pull it out, immediately. Yeah. Exactly. It's, kind of, I love when people talk about that. So like if you go in real small, it looks like it's like, right? Like it's all over the map. But then you pull back and look at it from here and it's like, okay, it is actually going in one direction. Right. And so
it just is.
Yeah. But you would then use that information to decide, am I going to keep my money in this investment?
Yes.
Does it need more time, or is this just not bringing the return that I'm looking for? And then that helps inform where we're going to invest it instead.
Right.
And it feels like, when it comes to time, we're not thinking about that. And I love how you said, like, having that lens of like, okay, this activity, is this going to lead to sales? So maybe let's kind of like pick like maybe 2 or 3 common activities that a business owner may do. Like, how do we see that activity through the lens of selling? And it may not be that it's, that it's direct to selling or not, but just how would we kind of evaluate?
Yeah. So there's
selling it as the filter.
There's 3 conversations that I say that every business owner or every team whether you have a small team or a large team, every business needs to have every single week. One is lead generation conversations, whether that's through networking and you're teaching other people how to sell for you out in your community or in your online community, or that is you having actual lead generating, like you having lead conversations, right? So number 1 is lead generation conversations. Number 2 is you need to have sales conversations. And I know like that's the one that everybody goes, I don't want to be salesy, right? But you need to be having sales conversations, whether that is through email and they click the link to buy, or whether that is in person or through DMs, or they reply to your email and you have conversation, right? But knowing how to have a sales conversation and leading that conversation is super important. And the third conversation, and everyone hates when I say this, but it's follow-up conversations.
Okay, tell us about that.
Girl, I call them follow-through conversations.
Ooh, I like
because
that.
The way that I teach you to sell doesn't necessarily mean, and it's ridiculous to think you're going to close every sale in the first conversation. Not happening, okay? Only 2% of sales close in the first conversation or the first contact. So 98% of the people that come in contact with you are not going to buy that first time on
Oh,
day
wow.
one.
Okay.
Okay. So 98% of the people out there, you're going to have to follow up with, or they are going to move on. We, as human beings, we make about 35,000 decisions a day. Now, a lot of them are micro ones, right? Like click here, do that, brush my teeth. I'm going to wear, like
But
the
still.
normal, the normal things we do, but we make up to 35,000 decisions a day. And if you're a woman and a mom, you're probably making more than that, right?
Yeah.
So if you come into contact with someone that's interested and they're making 35,000 decisions a day, they have made the decision to contact you and they are moving on with life because they have reached out to you and now it's off their to-do list today. And they're now in the pickup line at school, or they're running to Target, or they're getting groceries, or they're making dinner, or they're doing laundry, right? Like we've got all these things we have to do. And so if we're not following up, we're missing out on 98% possibilities of getting sales.
Yeah. And essentially, I think you're right. Like when we say sales is only like the sign on the dotted line type of thing, then we may feel like, we're not good at it. But what if it's that, like when it's clear, if you're not if that person's not at 2%, it's just selling them to the next step, selling them to the next conversation, selling them to that next follow-up where you're getting their buy-in. I think if you can get their buy-in in that conversation, even if it's not to officially purchase what you're offering, you've at least then made it easier then to take it to the next step. And then of course, hopefully you would do your part of following up and following through. Right. Because you're just going to show up and say, and do what you said you were. And then, that doesn't feel weird. It would feel weird not to, right?
Not at all. No.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Yeah. So just not always going for, I'm looking for the end result in each interaction, but what would a sale look like with this person based on what I know about them and based on what we're having a conversation about. So, Yeah. Okay. I know this seems obvious. We've kind of talked about this a little bit, but I want to kind of connect the dots with the time piece, right? So how does stepping into sales the right way, having the sales lens, right? A stewardship sales lens, we'll put all the S's together. How does it impact not only where we spend our time when we're working on our business, but also the return we see, the roadie from that time?
Oh gosh, if everyone would learn to sell, and everyone, I don't even just mean business owners, if everyone would learn to sell. Right. But if business owners and business women, especially Christian business women, would learn to sell, their businesses would not only run more efficiently, but you would have a return on your investment in terms of profit. And that profit can then hire the next person, which impacts their life. That profit can then be given to a local nonprofit, right? Like there are so many ways that our profits from our business can impact the communities that we live in, can impact communities worldwide. And so when we learn to sell, we're actually opening up the possibility of us being able to make a greater impact everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Like
why we're in business, right? Yes.
Right.
Not just to hang a sign on the wall and say, I've got a business, but to actually be doing the thing that we want to be doing instead of just talking about it. So, yeah. I love this. And I feel like as I'm listening to this, I mean, again, I feel like this is the biggest pressure in most business owners' lives is sales, right? And so thinking about when we start seeing sales on a regular basis, what does that open up? When it comes to either like our, like our mental capacity, even just like, our ability to serve those clients, how does like actually seeing this kind of return, kind of open up things maybe in some other ways in our life we may not even be thinking about.
Yeah. Sales can change everything if it's done in the right way. And I think one of the reasons that sales gets such a bad rap is because we've all had an icky sales experience, right? Yeah. We've all had someone push something on us and we've purchased, or we've had a really bad interaction with someone who was in sales and now we don't want to be in sales.
Right.
But if you come at it from an obligation standpoint, so if I'm able to serve the person that gets the end result, right? If I'm able to communicate effectively what it is that they're experiencing and the transformation they actually get that transformation. And then I find someone else who has the same problem, I'm obligated to talk about it. It's mean girl stuff. If we hold out, like it'd be like you coming to me and saying, Lindsay, I'm moving to the North Houston area. I need someone to do my hair. And I'd be like, in my brain going, oh, I have the perfect person. but I withhold that information from you because I don't want to sell my girl. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And we talk about things like, we don't even think twice when we're recommending a book, a movie, a coach we've worked with, a hairstylist or whatever.
Right.
And yet, sometimes when it's us, then we're a little tight-lipped around it. So
yeah, we have to be, as Christian entrepreneurs, we have to be relentless in this pursuit of who God has called us to serve.
Yeah.
And that includes
selling, then who are we serving?
Selling to them. Yes.
Yeah. That's what I often will say. There's only two things you need to focus on in business, your time on: sales and service.
Yes.
And if you're not overloaded with so many people to serve that you can't take on more people, then you should be spending time on sales. Exactly. So everybody wants to do the serving, but they don't want to put the time in for the selling, or the right way in there. So many good things. Okay. I want you to speak to, I'm thinking of two different women that might be in the audience right now. And of course, we got a whole spectrum. And just kind of let me know what encouragement would you give to each of these women? So you've got one person who's been stuck and plateaued in their sales for a while. They're feeling very discouraged. They're feeling very like less than. I'm just not good at this. I don't know, if I can do this. And then you got the other person who's like, okay, I am doing it, but I'm ready to scale to a next level. Like I know that the Lord has called me to, greater impact and service and things like that. So what would you say to each one of those ladies on either end of that spectrum?
First, I would say pray about it, right? That kind of goes without saying, but first pray about it. To the person who's kind of stuck and plateaued, I would go back and look at your list of clients, and I would look at who was the most fun to work with. Like, who was the person that lit you up when they called your office, or you got an email from them, or like, who was that person? And likely there's a few of those people, right? Like there's a few of those people. Try to find those kind of those threads between that group of people, and then really tailor your messaging directly to those people so that you find more of the people that light you up. That's probably who you're called to serve, right? For the person that's ready to scale, I would say if you already have a team, everyone in your team needs to be able to sell. Everyone has a role in the sales process. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples here. So my husband and I own a local service-based business in the North Houston area. And we got to the point where we now have a team, right? We have an admin, we have 5 technicians, I think. And then my husband and I do the sales and marketing. He does the finance, business, Excel spreadsheet stuff, right? So we have this team, and it hit me one day that they all need to learn how to sell. So I've taught each and every one of them their role in the sales process. Okay. So our administrative assistant is the person that's selling customer service. She's selling that warm, friendly voice over the phone. She's selling response times, and she's selling that stuff for us. She's also responsible for taking the person that calls, emails, or texts our business and taking them and getting them to schedule an appointment. That is her role in the sales process, because without appointments, we can't close the actual dollar sales, right? Now, the technicians have a different part in the sales process. The technicians are the ones that go out to the appointments. They diagnose the problem, and then they're the ones that have to sell the solution, right? So everyone in your team needs to be able to sell. And since teaching our team how to sell, our administrative assistant has increased her close rate from about 16% to almost 95%.
Wow.
Because now she understands her role. She understands what questions she needs to get answered to understand whether they are a good fit for our company or not. And then she understands what questions they're going to have and what objections they're going to have to scheduling that appointment, right? And so I've taught her how to ask those questions, get the information she needs, and then overcome the objections that are going to come up, and then get that appointment scheduled. Now, we knew that once we got him to the technician, our technicians would close the sale most of the time, right? But we needed that conversion on the front end to be tightened up and to increase so that we could increase the technician getting there to then sell the end solution, right? So those are the two things that I would say on the one that you're plateauing. Look at who you're really look at those people that you really loved working with, find more of those people. And then if you're ready to scale, everyone in your business has a sales role.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And each part, even for those who are solopreneurs who don't have a whole team,
Yes.
looking at each level, right? Like when somebody just initially makes a first contact, how is
Yes.
that a selling thing? And what are my goals in that phase to then get them to the next phase where now we're diagnosing a problem or we're figuring out what
Right.
their needs are, right? And then we
Right.
can then bring them into that solution.
Yes.
So yeah, I love it. It's so good when we start putting on the sales hat instead of trying to take it off all day long
Right.
and not be the salesy person or whatever. So yay. Well, we could talk all day long. I know
Yes.
you've got a lot of expertise and knowledge and experience around this. And I love that your faith is really driving what you do and why you do it. And so it's such a beautiful combination. So if somebody wants to lean in a little bit more and wants to take a next step, what would be a good next step for someone to take?
So I host the Small Business Growth Tools podcast. We talk about sales and marketing as a small business owner, specifically as a Christian woman in small business owner. So you can connect with me there. You can also find me through email at hello@lindsayfletcher.co.
Okay. All right. And I know you've got a little gift that you were talking about as well around
Yeah.
sales, right? Want to talk about that?
Yeah, I have a consistent sales checklist. So it is a checklist of things that you need to be doing, the 4 things you need to be doing each week in your business to consistently drive in sales. And so if you go to lindsayfletcher.co/checklist,
Okay.
you will find that checklist. And then I will continue the conversation in email.
Yeah, I love it, right? You're going to be fleshing out exactly what we should be doing. So if you guys want to learn sales, get into Lindsay's sales funnel and flow and see how she does it, because that's a great way to learn and say, what am I seeing her doing and how can I adapt this for what I do? I love that. So good. Well, I know this is going to be a great use of investment of time and potentially money for anyone who hires you, because this is so pivotal to business and staying in business and making an impact with their business. So I love that. Okay, we'll make sure that we link to your podcast as well in there. So if you guys love the Redeem Her Time podcast, you'll love going over there. And you guys all know that we take the conversation off the podcast into the Redeem Her Time community. Lindsay's already a member there. So this is where we're going to be going, to really kind of look at what are we doing about this conversation, not just saying. So I know it's kind of an off the cuff, Lindsay, but what do you think might be a good conversation or a good first place for us, to start and ask a question of people in that community around sales?
I always start with mindset, because what we believe about sales impacts how we show up as someone in sales. So I like to know what you think about sales first, and then I will dismantle all of it.
Yeah, I love that. So you guys come on over. We'll make sure we've got a question, implementation question going on. And Lindsay is a great person, as a resource that'll be in there as well. If you guys are not members yet, I'll link this in the show notes, redeemhertime.com/community. If you already are a member, I know some people are like, I am Lisa, but I can't remember how to get back there. I made it really easy for you. redeemhertime.com/member. Okay. If you're already a member, just go to the member URL, and then that will get you right there in the community where you can join us and sell your stuff. I give permission to talk about your business and sell it every day of the week. So I don't think that, we should wait till a certain day on a certain post to be able to talk about it. So we do that around there. So, well, thanks so much, Lindsay. Thanks for sharing your wisdom with us today. I know a lot of women are going to be blessed because this is so needed in business. So I know you said, this is coming out mid-April, so we still got, a little bit more time of the school year, and you're probably in the throes of sports and stuff like that. But, for you, Lindsay, if I ask you the question, what is it time for? Whether it's in this season of life or your business, how would you answer that? And why would you want to see a good return on that time invested?
So in my business, it's time to launch my sales course. So I created a sales course about, 2.5, 3 years ago. And I am revamping that, updating it. And I'm making some shifts in it. So it's called the Sales Shift. And so I'm going to shift your mindset on it. I'm going to shift your habits around it. I'm going to shift how you show up as a Christian woman in sales, because we're all in sales. No matter what you do, you're in sales. And so I'm going to shift all of that. I'm going to teach you how to sell. And then after that, you can work with me one-on-one or in kind of a group coaching situation, so that you actually implement what it is you've learned, and you can get real-time feedback on the conversations you're having.
Yeah, I love that because we need that, right? We think we got it figured out, and then we
Hmm.
need somebody to say, "Hey, here's how you can respond to that." So, so
Yes.
good. Well, so good. Well, I love that. I love that you're leaning into what the Lord's gifted you at and called you to do, and helping other women to do it so they can do what they're called to. So, thanks so much for being here today. Thanks, you guys. And here,
Thank
if you
you.
guys have a business bestie who needs to be selling, hello, every woman and a Christian woman business owner on the planet needs this. Share this
Hmm.
episode with her. Help her see, like, okay, sales doesn't have to be this thing that we avoid. There are people that can help us do it in a way that's actually going to produce results and be
Hmm.
honoring to the Lord. And yeah, let's make a shift in sales. I love it. So,
Yes.
all right. Thanks, you guys. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.